The day Amber gave birth, no one in the family bothered to tell me. I only found out later, from someone outside the family. I didn't say a word. I just swallowed the disappointment and stayed outside that hospital room for 24 straight hours. In the middle of the night, I wanted to check if my grandson needed a diaper change. Amber looked at me with disgust and asked if I'd even washed my hands. My husband and son stood by, silent as if they hadn't seen or heard a thing. Instead, they told me to take good care of her. Fine. If none of them saw me as worth a shred of respect, then I had nothing left to hold on to. The next morning, I packed my bags and booked a trip. You're going on a trip right after Amber gave birth? Who's supposed to take care of her and the baby? Have you completely lost your mind? Mom, what were you thinking? Amber's still recovering, and this is when she needs you most. She's going to hate you for the rest of her life. I looked at Frank and Jason, both glaring at me like I'd committed some unforgivable crime. All I felt was a deep, aching emptiness. I married Frank when I was 20, had Jason at 21, and for the past 30 years, I've run this household like a tireless machine. Cleaning, cooking, organizing, sacrificing. And yet all my efforts have been taken for granted, treated like background noise in their lives. I turned to Jason and asked, aside from being the one who cooks your meals and scrubs your laundry like a live-in maid, have you ever once acknowledged me as your mother to anyone? I tried to change your baby's diaper, and Amber made me put on disposable gloves first. Do you really think I'm that filthy? I've been the one looking after your newborn around the clock for over 20 days. Has anyone in this house ever asked if I'm tired? And the moment I leave for one single day, you hire 2 full-time nannies to help Cynthia take care of the baby? Cynthia spent barely a day here and you're already worried about her being exhausted? Jason avoided my gaze, his voice weak and defensive. Mom, can you not be so sensitive? Amber's already unhappy with you. Everyone knows postpartum care is the priority here. I'm your only son. Aren't you afraid I might stop taking care of you in the future? What a joke. So this was my son, the boy I raised with everything I had. Married less than 6 months and he's already thinking about cutting me off. I let out a laugh. Then just take care of Cynthia when she's getting old and leave me alone. I'll just check myself into a nursing home. Jason, frustrated that I wasn't backing down, turned to Frank and snapped, Dad, say something. Cynthia's been taking care of Amber every day and she's exhausted. Frank's face darkened. Helen, what do you want from us? Are you trying to tear this whole family apart? Oh, come on, I said, my voice calm but cutting. That's a bit dramatic, don't you think? Tell me, who even told me Amber was in labor? Who asked me when you booked a $15,000 postpartum suite? I'm your wife. I'm your mother. I pointed at both of them, my voice trembling with rage. But to either of you, have I ever really been seen as a living person? The day Amber gave birth, I heard it from someone else, not from you. And still I didn't complain. I even stayed up late making soup to bring to her. But your wife said I was nothing more than the housemaid. Said I was filthy. Then she poured the soup I made straight into the trash. When she humiliated me like that, both of you just stood there like statues. Not one word from either of you. Jason snapped, clearly irritated. Mom, can you stop dragging up the past already? Amber just had a baby. Her emotions are unstable. If I criticize her over something like that and it affects her milk supply, then what? The bitterness in my heart deepened. All I'd done was speak honestly about how I felt. But to them I was just making a scene. My hands clenched into fists. So when I just wanted to hold the baby and she said I was dirty, what exactly did she mean by that? Jason grew more agitated. You're in the kitchen all day. You reek of grease and smoke. It's nauseating. Honestly, even I can't stand the smell, let alone a newborn. I slammed my hand on the table. Then why is it that when you're eating the meals I cook, you don't seem to mind how dirty I am? My voice cracked. The lump in my throat made it almost impossible to speak. Frank finally stood up and said coldly, You're too emotional right now. This isn't the time to talk. Calm yourself down. Make more of that vegetable soup tonight and roast a chicken. Have it at the hospital by 6 sharp. Postpartum mothers need proper nutrition and the hospital food isn't enough. You should cook something decent. Cynthia can't go hungry either. You know she gets dizzy and nauseous if she skips a meal. It'd be better if you delivered dinner early. Then the two of them stormed out, slamming the door behind them. I sat there, trembling, unable to hold back the tears any longer. I buried my face in my arms and sobbed, Loud, heart-wrenching sobs. The more I cried, the more suffocated I felt. I gave up everything to marry Frank, even when everyone in my family was against it. He had nothing, just empty hands and empty promises. I stayed by his side through every struggle, helped him build his company from the ground up. When he said he wanted a traditional wife and mother, I gave up my career and became a full-time homemaker. I dedicated my life to this family, only to be treated like an afterthought. Neither of them ever really saw me as a person. And now I'm 50 years old. It took me half a lifetime to finally see who they truly are, selfish to the core. I sat alone in the living room thinking for hours. Then at 6:05 my phone rang. It was Jason. "You're 5 minutes late. Where's the dinner? What the hell are you trying to pull?" he growled. I answered quietly, calmly, "I'm your mother, not your maid." I said coldly, "If your wife didn't eat, then what the hell are you doing as her husband? What about your beloved mother-in-law? What's she doing? Are you suddenly disabled? Or are you just too damn stingy to buy your wife a meal?" Jason was stunned. He'd never heard me speak to him like that in his entire life. After a beat he snapped out of it and shouted, "You're insane. You've completely lost it. I'll have Dad talk to you." But I hung up before he could finish. Then I blocked both of their numbers. I booked a flight, 5 days from now. Then I walked into the bedroom and started packing my bags. I'd barely folded a couple of shirts when Frank's driver showed up at the door. "Ma'am, there you are," he said, surprised. "Mr. Dawson's been calling you nonstop and thought something had happened. He asked me to come check on you." Right in front of me he called Frank again and handed me the phone. I didn't want to make things difficult for him, so I took the call. The voice on the other end was already brimming with irritation. "Helen, could you stop with the theatrics? It's been the whole damn afternoon. Are you still not done? You haven't gone on a vacation in over 20 years, and you suddenly get the urge now? You know Cynthia can't stand the smell of grease, but she loves your lemon roast chicken. Are you seriously going to let her go hungry on purpose?" The anger I'd managed to bottle up flared all over again. I dropped all pretense and snapped, "Tell me, Frank, am I your wife or is she? She can't stand kitchen smells, so I'm supposed to slave away for her? Do I owe her something? If you care so much about her stomach, go cook for her yourself. Helen, you've completely lost your mind. You're delusional. Get help." Frank slammed the phone down before I could beat him to it. I hated myself for not hanging up faster. I handed the phone back to the driver. He looked at me, clearly uneasy. "Ma'am, is everything okay?" "I'm fine," I said, forcing a smile. "But from now on I'll probably need your help a lot more. If either of those two ever call you asking where I am, tell them this. If I dropped dead today, it still wouldn't be any of their business." The driver glanced at me, stunned. He left with a confused expression, turning to look back at me 3 times before getting into his car. After all, I was the one everyone in this household had called the perfect homemaker for years. But today, I finally stopped playing that role. That evening, neither Jason nor Frank came home. Normally, I would have called them dozens of times, urging them to come back. But tonight, I didn't make a sound. I spent the entire day basking in the sun in the garden. It was warm. Above me, the stars shone brightly. Before, without them around, I couldn't sleep at night. But tonight, before 10 o'clock, I was already in a deep sleep. I woke up at 5 in the morning. After washing up, I put on my yoga gear and went out for a run. Some of the neighbors who I knew in the block looked at me surprised. They said I seemed different today. Normally, at this hour, I'd still be at home making breakfast for Frank and Jason, never stepping outside. After preparing breakfast and making sure they ate, they'd leave for work. And then I'd begin cleaning the house. Day after day, the same routine. People around here often say I'm a workaholic. When it came to taking care of the kids and Frank, I did everything myself, never leaving anything to others. Frank's business partners often told him that their wives should learn from me. Frank, on the other hand, would always frown and say I had no other talents, that I couldn't compare to others. He forgot that, in the early days of his business, I was the one who stood by him, helping him negotiate deals. But today I was different. This morning I ran for 40 minutes in the neighborhood, sweating profusely. When I got home, I took a hot shower and prepared myself a nice breakfast. I sat in the garden, enjoying the view, listening to music and savoring my peaceful time. But when I opened my phone and saw the new photo Cynthia had posted on social media, I almost got a heart attack. In the photo, Frank, who'd never so much as touched a frying pan, was in the kitchen cooking. One picture showed last night's dinner, a lavish meal he'd prepared himself, made with the freshest ingredients. Another showed him this morning, carefully brewing coffee for Cynthia. I stared at the comments beneath the post, every single one praising Frank, showering him with admiration and likes. I hesitated for a moment, then typed a comment. Married over 20 years, and this is the first time I've learned my husband has a culinary certificate. What a shame, I've never had the privilege of tasting Frank's cooking. Not long after, Frank stormed through the front door, slamming it shut behind him. Helen, what the hell are you trying to do? I calmly set down my coffee and looked at him. That's a question I should be asking you. Frank ripped off his tie and threw it hard onto the floor. We've been together for 30 years. What do you have to be jealous about? You didn't want to cook for Cynthia, so I did. Why are you acting crazy about it? Cynthia's crying now thanks to you. Crying? I let out a quiet laugh. What exactly did I say that wasn't true? Helen. He flipped the table. My breakfast scattered across the floor, a mess of eggs, toast and coffee, lying there like discarded scraps. In that moment it struck me, this was exactly how Frank saw me. Just like that breakfast. Disposable, unimportant, easily tossed aside. I looked up at him, calm and silent. Frank must have realized he'd gone too far. He avoided my gaze, muttering, "Stop making a scene. Everything I'm doing is for our son, for this family." I didn't say a word. That silence only made him angrier. Helen used to be so gentle. We've been married for 3 decades and everyone says you've been the perfect wife, the rock behind this family. So why are you falling apart now just when Amber needs us most? My quiet seemed to rattle him more than yelling ever could. He continued, "Forget about that trip. I'll hire 2 more nannies to help with Amber and Cynthia. You just stay home and cool off. When Amber's discharged, she'll be coming home. She wants your cooking, so you'll move in to take care of her." Jason wrote up a list of dietary guidelines for postpartum care. He's sending it to your phone. Memorize it. On his way out, Frank bent down and picked up his tie. He smoothed it out and carefully folded it, slipping it into his jacket pocket. Jewel blue with diagonal white stripes. His least favorite color. And yet today he folded it with care, as if it were something valuable. That's when my phone buzzed. A message from Jason. "Mom, Dad probably already talked to you, right? Here's a list of things to keep in mind. Amber and her mom Cynthia have been pampered their whole lives. They've never done housework. So when you're cooking, make sure you ask what they want to eat. Amber prefers light, mild flavors, but Cynthia likes spicy dishes. Amber and the baby's clothes should be washed by hand. Cynthia's can go in the machine." Jason sent me over 30 messages in one breath. He remembered every tiny preference his wife and mother-in-law had. But he never remembered my birthday. I replied, "Well, today I finally learned you had so much to say to me. Funny, until now you've never spoken more than 3 sentences to me unless I asked first." Jason didn't even catch the sarcasm. He just kept giving instructions. "Mom, next Tuesday is Amber's discharge day. She's been craving chicken soup. You should get the ingredients ready in advance. Oh, and just a heads up, Amber's been moody lately since the delivery. If she complains about not wanting your food again, just cook it early and leave it on the table before she sees you. If you're not around, she'll probably eat it." I let out a soft, bitter laugh. I didn't respond, because I knew something Jason didn't. Next Tuesday was the day I'd be leaving for my trip. Frank had told me to take some time to cool off, but interestingly he never reached out again. The man who rarely ever came home on time now clocked in and out of work like a model employee. He spent every evening at Jason's house showing off his newfound culinary passion, playing the role of doting father and husband-to-be to Cynthia. Frank was terrified I'd do or say something that might upset his precious Cynthia again, so he and Jason both quietly removed me from viewing their social media updates. Every day I watched from Amber's public posts instead, scrolling through photos of their happy little family, smiling, cozy, complete. A perfect picture of joy without me. Tuesday came quicker than expected. As soon as I arrived at the airport, Frank called. "Where are you?" he asked. "I'm at the airport," I said simply. "Stay there," he ordered. "Jason's on his way to see you." I'd almost got to the security checking point when I saw Jason walking toward me, pushing my mother in a wheelchair. "Grandma," he said dramatically, Please talk some sense into my mom. Something's clearly wrong with her. She picked the worst possible time to go on vacation. Jason, your grandmother's heart condition isn't well. Why are you tormenting her like this? I quickly run through the security checking line, and couldn't help but slap Jason across the face. He stared at me in shock. I had raised him for 22 years and had never once hit him. But not for a second did I regret it. Mom. Jason stammered. I choked up. My mother waved her hand at me. Sweetheart, I know you're upset. Go wherever you want. Don't worry about us. Take your time to feel better, and if you decide to divorce, your father and I will support you. Grandma. Jason screamed. My mother struck him on the other side of his face. This slap is for your mom, she said. How could I have raised such an ungrateful brat like you? Hearing this, I felt like I had no more ties holding me back. With resolve, I walked straight toward the gates. Jason's calls echoed behind me, but I didn't respond. Under the same roof, Frank, who hadn't spoken more than 10 words to me in 10 days, sent me a long message. Helen, you said you needed space, but is this really how you're handling things? Why wasn't the house cleaned before Amber came home today? Why wasn't there any food? How could you leave for a